the cause.
I'm just gonna go ahead and keep going. We're just
Yeah,
gonna because
we would have forgotten. She
no,
has not
yeah,
been the cause for any of the controversy.
yeah. I just like I said, I think she obviously she was good for the sport. You know,
Yeah,
they had more eyes on that final than the men did
yeah,
because
they did.
you I think it's like everybody kind of expected UConn to win for the men, and it was like a formality as far as the game
True.
went. But you really didn't know who was going to win the women's because there were, like it was like, okay, but you everybody wanted to see her win, but then it was like, okay, but this other team hasn't lost a game,
Right.
so it's like, well,
Yeah. No, I hope the season starts, and I hope she plays well. I'm a fan. She's not my favorite player, but
right.
I've enjoyed watching her, and I appreciate what she's done for women's basketball as a whole. And I was really hoping when they announced expansion teams, St. Louis would be on there, but of course we are not.
No.
I think the closest we get is Nashville, potentially, if they expand.
Right.
Oh well.
Yeah. So no, I mean, I like I said, it they will they'll police it if they don't want her to do it, obviously, or if
Yeah.
the other players, the veteran players, are like, absolutely not. We're going to police our own, or they can be like, you know what? The reason people were tuning in too, part of it was her personality and her
Yeah.
character, her competitiveness, and it was nice to see women behaving like men on a court and
I thought it was great. I
and
have always thought it
understanding
was
that like
great.
and understanding that we have that competitive nature in us just as much as a man does, and like
Yeah.
our trash talking can involve like your family, like people, like we will cut you to the like,
Yeah.
and understanding that like if you're going we're not you society has put, like made women feel like they needed to be gentle and genteel and make
Thank
you
you.
comfortable and
Yeah.
everything. And we're kind of starting to grow out of that, like where if you can't handle that, that's really kind of on you.
Yeah.
I'm not placed here to make you feel comfortable. Like that's your mama's job. And if she,
Yeah.
and it ended with her, like
Yeah.
I'm not here to do that. So so if they decide, you know what, hey, and all the rest of the players are like, you want to do this, we'll do it right back. And then you
If
keep
that's
up,
what the league
then
decides, it's even better.
even better, right? And then that is how, I mean, like, I just wish people understood that the NBA is, I'm, I forgot the word, but they are the ones paying for the WNBA.
Yeah.
It is, it's, yeah, they're financing that. Like, they're not money makers. So I mean, that's where the pay,
And that's what I tweeted about it because I people a lot more eyes are on the women's game now.
subsidizing. There you go. That's
Yes. And so they were like they were seeing the salaries and seeing the travel conditions because like I think each of the men's teams, professional teams have like private jets and the women's don't. And the salaries were different and the revenue split is different. And they were like, well, that's not fair. And I'm like, look, I want the WNBA to be successful. However, they haven't turned a profit in their existence. So you're not going to get the same revenue split because if they give the same revenue split that the men have, they would fold the
right.
next year.
Yeah, they're
Now, you
not.
can
They're
fix that by getting more eyes on the game, buying merchandise, turning the game on the TV to help the ratings. If you're local, go to the games. Like that is how you can
right.
help. I say the same thing whenever the Olympics or World Cup comes around, and people always get mad at me, but I will die on this hill complaining, angry tweeting, posting on Facebook, any social media that the women's soccer team deserves more pay, all of that. 2 weeks out of but when you only support them 2 weeks
Right. You have
every
to
4 years,
you have to put money into the sport
yeah,
in order for these players to it is a performance and revenue
yep,
equal, like that's how that's how they pay their salaries. That's the reason
Yeah.
football players can be paid an astronomical amount and baseball players can be paid an astronomical. They have huge contracts with streaming services through their team, like because there's
Yeah.
so many eyes and so many people going to games. And so it's
If
like,
you're only supporting the women's team for 2 weeks once every 4 years,
right,
your tweets don't mean anything.
right,
That 2 weeks when we're all watching the Olympics or the World Cup, like cool.
right.
But as soon as that
However,
ends,
right,
what are you doing until the 4 years later?
exactly right, exactly right.
Yeah.
That's so. How have you thought of baseball?
We're currently last place in our division. However, I haven't I haven't given up on the season because I think we're last place by like 2 games.
Right,
Still early. We've got some injuries, and I think we had talked previously about how the team was looking after the first
week, right.
week, maybe. And we're okay. We're okay.
Okay, we're okay. For
Yeah.
there are still, I think, two or three relievers still out.
Yeah, I have it pulled up.
Middleton, is it Kenyon
Hmm.
Middleton? And I think Riley O'Brien still might be injured, and I'm blanking
Yes.
on the other one.
Is Libator back?
Libator's back. He was back, I think, last night, in fact, or
You're right.
yesterday
Yeah.
afternoon.
Yeah.
Um,
O'Brien, Middleton, and then we've obviously in the outfield we've got Carlson and Edmund.
right. So, I
And
mean,
now Carpenter.
huh?
I said and now Carpenter. Not that I was really banking on him anyway, but
Right. So, but yeah, I think we started off with the Dodgers. That's you.
that was rough.
The fact that we won a game
Right. That was a tough ask to start the season.
again without Sonny Gray,
Yes.
without three outfielders. You've lost some reliever. It's we. I don't want to say that we're struggling to be average. I think we're average
Yeah.
despite what is like there are goods there are a few concerns to like the fact I think last 10 out of 12 games we haven't been able to score more than 3 runs.
Yes, unfortunately. And the home run leader is a former Cardinal, but that's neither here nor there.
Right now,
Right, it's true. Very early.
I
I
think a
saw the
lot of
tweet come across and I was just like, ugh.
I think a lot of like I get it because like everybody's just especially if you're a Cardinals fan right now it's just it's easy to hop onto the rage train, so you
True.
just really want to
Very
be
true.
angry. You're just like you just want to be angry, but it's like okay. um it, it it's not like we gave up on him after a year.
That's fair.
um
Yeah.
it was 20 was it 2021 I believe when he
Hmm.
when he was is it MVP? I don't know if it was MVP. What maybe I can't remember. But I mean, it's kind of like he, let's this. I don't want to say it's an aberration. It's like it's unusual, but I mean, this is not the norm for him. It is um a little less than 3 weeks into the season. Um,
Exactly. We're not crowning an MVP in April.
Right. And he does have a tendency. He's very much like Christian Yelich, where maybe right now he seems like the gift of the heavens, but there's a good chance that he's going to be hurt by the end. And if he's not, okay, then I mean, then there was a doctor in Boston that found the perfect cure to whatever was ailing him because we had him for 6 years.
Yeah, that's not a move like if he, like you said, if he comes back and plays lights out, will I be bummed as a Cardinals fan? Yes, but that's not a move where I'm like, oh, our front office. Like there's a lot of other things I can point to. That one's not one of them.
Right. It's again, he's not one that we gave up on before we knew his potential.
Right.
He is a player of ups and downs and he is hurt a lot. And I'm not wishing him to be hurt. I'm just saying like let's let's talk about him again in October. Like
Yeah.
and if he great, you know. I think everybody thought the same thing when Harrison Bader left for the Yankees. Like, oh, and then it's kind of where is he now? So
That good month that Matt Carpenter had with the Yankees. Everyone was like,
again,
"Oh, see," but it's like, what about the other 6 months?
that's what I'm saying. And sometimes that can it can do a lot for a player.
Yeah,
Just, like a newness, the need to prove, a little bit of a chip on your shoulder, and then things kind of start to settle down, and then all of a sudden, you know.
yeah.
So yes, but
I feel like if we were completely healthy, I still would see us as at best, if we were fully healthy, a wild card team.
yeah, I mean, like everybody's, oh
Like
well, we could win the division. Well, okay, again, yank. I mean, that it means
we've been
so
over
little.
that, right?
It means so little in the scheme
Yeah,
of baseball now. Like the Central Division is not the flex that people are wanting it to be. Like, it's just
correct.
not anymore. And it's so if you're not able to compete against the Astros and the Phillies, and like you barely compete against the Mets, and they weren't a much step above you, like
Exactly.
it's
And that's why I say at best. And like that is everyone playing to their full potential, I guess, at what where they all are at their careers currently. I see us as a wild card team. And I don't even say a wild card team that would win. That's just we make the wild card. That's the roof of this team, in my opinion.
right. Oh yes. Like we're not winning a playoff series.
No,
And that, yeah, we're not winning a playoff series anytime soon.
no.
And I think watching Sonny Gray kind it doesn't make me, I wouldn't say angry is the right word. I'm not easily enraged. Like I guess I'm more bummed
Yeah,
because I'm like, oh, we could have had a couple of him.
exactly.
Like you're like, oh wow. Like well, we only have one of you,
Yeah,
and
which goes back to we've talked about before. The team will make a good move, not even a big move, not a big splash, but they make a smart move, and they'll do that one, and then they're like, "All right, you're welcome. Buy tickets now."
yeah, I mean, people might know that I'm currently reading Moneyball at the moment, and I'm reading things that are like quotes that are being said, or like reading some of the decisions that were made, for the A's by Billy Bean and his sidekick Paul, which I think was not named Paul in the movie, but that's neither here nor there. But I feel like Mosaic went into sabermetrics and can't like he took all of it, the good and the bad out of it, and it's his Bible, and he refuses, like, even there's a King James updated version of the Bible, bro. Like, I mean, like, you have to like there's no he takes it for he goes by those metrics exclusively and
Right.
will not divert
No
off
wiggle
of
room, and like
whatever
you said, he
nerd
won't
is.
update the
Yeah,
cybermetrics.
he who whatever nerd is printing off the stats for him to look over, he just like this is it, and he just this
Yeah.
we're gonna get this player, and it's like
And he's like, no, see, the logic is sound. And it's like, yeah, but like that's stuff from the 90, like there have been improvements to the analytics, the cybermetrics. Like there have been improvements. You need to update your data, your math. And he's like, no, 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 this is how they did it.
and
And
the philosophy is not like you're looking for sabermetrics that fit your philosophy that no longer works in the current game right now. Like he might still be looking at metrics that work when we were able to have the shift,
yeah,
and we don't have that, like, so it's like, and the fact that like there is, like you do need more strikeouts than you need ground balls, and I just, yeah, reading that book really is eye-opening, but I'm reading some of it and I'm just like, bro, you took this and you declared jihad with it. Like you,
Well, it'd be like, and I guess some teams still do it, but
sure.
in football, making a team and the whole identity is like ground and pound, and everyone's like, okay, yeah, but like, you know, passing is kind of the way we're going. Like, you still need a good running back, you still need a good run game, but like passing is come fairly. No, we're gonna ground and pound. We're gonna lean on Derrick Henry, blah 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 blah. And it's like, okay, cool, Titans. That'll win you some games. You might even make the playoffs. But no one seriously considers you a contender
Mhm.
because if you have to throw the ball, you're screwed. It's like, yeah, but this worked in the 80s and the 90s. Like, yeah, but we like the game
Exactly
has
right.
changed. The
Like,
data has changed.
it might work, like those numbers make sense for your team.
Yeah,
However, other teams are making updates to their defense at the same
exactly.
time, and you are not adapting to those things, and you're not adapting to like mobile quarterbacks now, and
Right.
like it doesn't just have to be given to Derrick Henry. It can be run
Right.
maybe with the whoever the quarterback is at the like either you got more air space on the field now to work in and to play. So yeah, it's frustrating reading the book because I'm like, oh,
It's
I
a good read, but it hits too close to home.
yes. Yeah, exactly right. And
Uh,
you're just like, you read it and you're like, okay, so this I get. I don't by no means I don't think he picked up the book and was like, oh, this is what I'm doing. I think, obviously he was coming up with or he was in the sabermetrics, mindset along the same time that these other people were it was gaining ground and stuff like that. I think, it's not a new concept. Obviously, he's been doing it for years, but you just read it and you're like, okay, so you just you're hardlining it now and you also now because you think you're the smartest person in the room, there's nobody that's telling you no or anymore or like
which is an issue across the board, sports, life, whatever. If you are so focused on what you believe is the truth and no one around you is able to or willing to tell you no or you're wrong, it's not going to end well for you. And I do think, I mean, people that know me said that last year I wanted the Cardinals to have a bad season. And it's not because I hate the Cardinals, it's because, as we've talked about, the Cardinals always did just enough
just enough.
to, they did just enough. They did just enough to not have a fire sale, to not have to have heads roll. I said I need them to have a bad season so they can't go and do the whole, well, if a few things go our way, we're having a different conversation. Like, again, I've used it before, but that 21 or 22 game win streak that we had was the worst thing that happened to us because that win streak got us into the playoffs and everybody forgot how bad we actually were that season. I was like, I need a terrible season where they can't point the finger at this or this or this.
That's
I
like
wanted
the
all of our
2000.
legends.
That's like what is it? You could do the 2011 World Series. Is probably the worst thing that happened
Right.
for the team.
We were not
Because
supposed to be there.
yeah, it was like okay, you caught lightning in a bottle and you won, but all it did was reinforce. I mean, reinforce him thinking in his way of thought of this is what this works. This is what we
Yeah.
do. And
Yeah.
it's we don't need we don't need these big guys. We don't need these all stars. We just need these.
We need guys that won't quit.
Yeah,
That's what we
we need
need.
We need a whole bunch of Matt Carpenters on the team,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
you're just like,
Good software.
and I'm
Yeah.
saying,
I think people times might be changing. I know opening day I wasn't there, but I did read and see and hear that Mosaic and maybe Bill DeWitt, but Mosaic was booed by the fans on opening day, which is
I was kind of
wild.
glad he was,
I was too. I thought
and
it was great.
because
On the
I'm a big don't boo the players, don't boo the play on the field. Like I don't like when I get why people boo when, if like say a game is blown and they're booing, and I understand that they're really not technically booing the players, they're letting, that's the only recourse, and that's the only way they can communicate with the front office. That's because they're not going to read your emails, they're not going to take your telephone calls. So it's literally the only way you can verbally communicate with the front office is by booing on the field. I appreciated it for opening day because it was name, you are on the field, your name is being called, and you are getting the boos.
There
You
was no confusion as who it was aimed to.
Right. Well, we're like last time where he tried to, he's like, oh, everybody was calling for Newt Bar. And it was like, I know you think you're being cheeky, but honestly, it just enrages us all the more. I know that,
Even more that you're making light of a situation that those of us that are fans are passionate about.
right. It's like, again, in a way, I know you don't work for us, but you kind of work for, I mean, like
Yeah.
ticket sales dictate your salary. Like ticket sales dictate your salary. I know it's not a
I
huge,
heard ticket sales are down as well.
yeah.
After opening weekend, or after the opening weekends, I think they've said they've dropped pretty significantly, which
Right.
just
I
I'm
felt
okay with
bad,
this.
and I felt bad for Sonny Gray because I thought, okay, yeah, I've really felt bad that he comes from Oak. Didn't he come from Oakland? And it's like you come from a team where nobody was showing up, and then now
Right.
you're coming to a team where people are,
You hear about how great they are, and then
and now you have a team that you hear that people are trying to persuade other people not to go to the game to send a message to the fans.
right. He's like, I
Oh
just dealt
God.
with this. Now, obviously, it's a lesser extent here, but you go from a bad situation to, you would think, a great situation, and it's like, oh, I've seen this before. I
Yeah.
just saw this.
You're like, oh, this feels familiar. This,
Yeah, I know how this ends.
yeah, and like, yeah, and they're just about to ask for money for the for a
I
stadium.
saw that. I saw it with the Chiefs, and now I'm seeing it with the Cardinals.
Well,
As
I
much as
wanted
I
to be really petty with the news about the Chiefs. I wanted to
same, 100%, because I don't think it's going to happen, but if it did, oh,
well, and the fact that like, okay, because like I think like they're talking about just moving them across the border or just across the border, which is, and it's only 20 minutes away. So it's like
yeah,
it's not a move, but the petty part of me wanted to be like, um, well, you could always root for the Battle Hawks when they're gone. Like we could,
yes,
I
that
wanted
is 100% what I would do.
so petty, like, oh,
Yes,
yeah, it hurts when your team leaves, doesn't it? Like, oh, you give them so much, you
yeah,
support them, and then they just, because they didn't like what you won't give them money, they're up and gone.
yep.
Yeah, I really, really yeah, because I think
It would make my year. I would go back to our first episode and be like, my most anticipated. That would be number one.
Kansas City, like, yeah, like,
Oh,
it sucked. Like this, like I don't feel like there's a baseball fan out there. I don't, regardless of what team you root for, I don't think there's a baseball team out or a baseball fan out there that doesn't feel for the fans in Oakland. Like there's not,
yeah.
like, I don't care if it's your rival. I don't
I was
care.
gonna say, even their rivals.
Everybody thinks it's a complete, like the whole thing is a bag of crap. Like
Yeah.
everybody know. Like
And it's not even like the city they're moving to is like openly embracing them. Like they've already they there's just been so many issues that's like, you shouldn't even be like, I understand you have to go to Vegas for the money. Like all the teams are going there. All the leagues are going there. But the way that it's being handled,
that they're going
it's
to Sacramento and playing in a minor league stadium
yeah.
for years, and that
Yeah.
their own owner said, "I can't wait to see Aaron Judge hit home runs in the stadium."
Yes.
You didn't even say that about your own players hitting home.
That
You said, "I
had me
can't wait
furious.
to see the opposition hit dingers in the city." And I I'm completely shocked that the Players Association isn't pitching a fit about it.
Yeah.
because there's no way that the facilities,
are up to standard.
yes, at all. I'm shocked that
Yeah.
the Players Association hasn't come out more forceful. I mean, they've got their own problems right
The
now.
way they were trying to root and help out the minor league guys, you would think that like if the cream of the crop is dealing with that, I mean, you would have thought that the Players Association would be there in a heartbeat with something to say, with a complaint, with something.
Yeah, because you have okay, you're gonna have the Oakland Players that's their home base. Oh, because here's what it's gonna come down to is they're either going to be you're, Oakland's either going to have a not. I mean, like they're like not going to be. They're a mediocre team at best right now. They're not going to be. They're probably going to be at the bottom of the stack. But let's just go to Fantasyland. Let's just say they make the playoffs and go to the World Series while they're in Sacramento. You mean to tell me you're going to host World Series games
Right.
in a minor league ballpark?
Right.
Now you got it's like you who was it? Was it they the I don't know if it was the Players Association or the MLB came down hard, not came down hard, but they demanded that the Blue Jays, I believe, was it like during the COVID situation that they like make a whole
Oh,
bunch of like adjustments and
yeah.
modifications.
Yeah.
So like you don't so they're either going so again fantasy they're either going to make the World Series and they're going to be hosting
That would be great just for the chaos of it all. But again,
right
looking at that team's roster, I don't see it happening.
or they're going to be so bad that Vegas and from there's a few things that I've read where Vegas is like we really kind of if you guys are that bad we don't know if we want our name
Right.
like like
Kicking off the MLB in Vegas with a team that's this bad.
right they're like are we like if you're gonna be I think I forgot how many years they might be I think it's like 2028 might be the farthest like I think the most they might be out in the minor league or at Sacramento
Yeah.
so you're having 3 years and something like 3 years of tanking your team and you think Vegas is gonna be like can't wait to have
Especially when you see the teams that have gone to Vegas have, minus the Raiders, who have been not terrible, but middle of the pack, if maybe a little below. But the WNBA Aces won a championship not that long ago. The Golden Knights went to the Stanley Cup like the second, not like maybe like very quickly
I was gonna say I thought it was
after.
that year they went
Maybe it was. They made a deep playoff run
right
that first. So you've got the Raiders, who aren't terrible, but you know,
enough
you've got,
storied history right you're gonna have
yeah,
right
you've got the WNBA team who's won championships, and the Golden Knights, who I think they've won now, but and it's been less than 10 years, but they made it to the Stanley Cup finals and made deep playoff runs as soon as they got there. And then it's like, and the A's, them.
That's right now. It's like apparently when they go to Sacramento, so they won't be called Oakland, and like during baseball game
The
broadcast,
Sacramento
at the
A's.
OAK anymore for Oakland. That's just supposed to be athletics. And I did hear them say it would. I would love to see somebody have the balls to actually put Sac up there because Sacramento. We're not gonna be called Sacramento A's, but just to be SAC.
That would be, they would make a ton of money. Being a Cardinals fan, I would buy Sacramento A's gear just to have it.
Right? Like it's yeah, I so apparently they're
I'm
not gonna,
childish like that.
yeah, they're not gonna be called Oakland. They won't be called the Las Vegas because they're not in Las Vegas, but they won't be called Sacramento either. So apparently
Yeah.
they're just sticking with the A's.
The West Coast A's.
So moving on, it's staying in baseball because I mean there's nothing the Cards can do right now outside of hitting. The offense has to improve. We know this.
Yeah.
But pitcher injuries. Now, there's been a lot of talk and a lot of theorizing on why so many aces went down so fast.
Yes.
this year. What do you think?
Well, what are the rumors? Because I'll be honest, I didn't look into them because
The rumors are
I
that the
didn't.
pitch clock. A lot of people just automatically jump on the
Oh,
pitch clock.
yes. Okay.
I am a believer that we are finding out the limits of human performance with as velocity keeps increasing. Like now,
Yeah.
there's so much emphasis put on not a player's it's the type of football with the spin rate and the velocity. So you're kind of coming across where we're finding where the limits are as far as these are humans that are
Yeah.
doing it. And they're starting younger and younger with an emphasis on speed. They're starting younger and younger, and there is less time off. I'm not talking about pitch clock, but there's less time off because people have their kids in there's baseball in the spring, there's baseball in the summer,
Yep.
there's fall ball, there's winter leagues. It's consistent, and you hear a lot of like these older players that talk about like after if we didn't make or even after we've made the World Series, after the playoffs, everything's over. I didn't touch anything for until some players were like, I didn't touch anything until a few weeks before spring training, and then I started throwing a ball around lightly and yada yada. Now they're like it's 2 weeks later and they're back to pitching. And Tommy John surgery has always been it is it the surgery occurs because it's the wearing down of the arm.
Yeah.
So I
I think the pitch clock I was a fan of because it was meant to cut down on the amount of time that obviously the pitcher is, I don't want to say hanging out, but there was a lot of dead time in between pitches. And I understand you're trying to get the signs down and you're trying to mentally lock in. But I think we can all agree, people that love the pitch clock and hate the pitch clock can agree that there were just some times where it took way too long in between two pitches. So I thought the pitch clock was great.
to play devil's advocate, I being a I mean, as you know, being a gym, we're gym freaks. Um,
Yes.
I think to ask a human being to throw, especially if you ever slow down a pitcher and watch their arm and the angle
Yes.
at which their arm it's not natural. Um,
Yeah.
and they're asked to throw 90 plus continuously. Like I said, you and I, as being gym freaks, we know how important rest time between sets is.
Yeah.
And a lot of, I'm sure a lot of you can make a case that some pitchers were just dilly dallying. I don't know. I can't, but I know if I were to be um, expected to lift what I lift at the gym and turn around and in 20 seconds do it again, my
No,
body
you are
is going
completely
to break
right.
down.
And I think that is something that I know for me personally, I didn't consider that. And as someone who, yes, loves working out, you would have thought that I would have thought that. But to me, I was just happy to see. Now, I thought they should have extended it because I thought they need a little bit more time. But for me, it was for them mentally to prepare.
Sure.
Selfish of me not to think of their arm. But when you see it now in its second year and the uptick in these injuries with the aces, yes, I think it's very clear.
Because they shrunk it down again through this year.
Yes.
Yeah. So, and it's
And
like I saw some
yeah,
person's comment on there was like, oh, they're like, I mean, because I don't believe the pitch clock, the changing of the rule. I don't think that because like if they actually like you go back and you look at the injuries, how many, it's pretty on par with what it just happens to be a lot of the bigger names. But I mean, like look at the ages of some of these bigger names, and like it's
yeah,
so many factors that go into why a lot of these guys were hurt this year. I think the pitch clock, you could make a case like it plays a part in it. I don't think it is the part in it. And again, I think a lot of it is now the focus on velocity and spin rate, and it's just the constant beating of these guys. Again, I think we're just finding where the apex and the peak
Yeah.
of human performance on the body is right now with these guys. But
Peak
like,
athletes have done a ton. They have done some incredible things, but yeah, I think we've hit the wall.
right, yeah, we're finding out where this limit is. And it's like,
Yeah.
but it was like, I wanted to, I am never going to jump into a conversation arguing with boys, men, I'm sorry, men about sports. I just am not. But like a lot of people were like, so people who were falsely making the accusation that it was the pitch clock responsible for it. Then you had people that were saying, and I mean, whereas I agree, I don't think it's just the pitch clock. I think it plays a
No.
bigger part in it, but I think it plays a little part in it. But you had people like, what good, what you mean to tell me that there's that much difference in in 2 to 3 seconds? And I wanted to be like, clearly you have never worked out, because
Right.
let me tell you, there like extend that just a little bit. And yeah, there's a take it to 10 seconds. There's a huge amount of difference. And if you ask me to perform an exercise at maximum effort and you take that 10 seconds away from me, I am going to drop off my next round.
Yes.
And then if you keep taking that, by the end of my workout, I am, so it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, I do think these seconds add up for these guys. Yes, absolutely. I mean, again, I was just kind of like, is this just a forum of a whole bunch of men that have never touched a weight in their life? Like, how hard do you work out at the gym? Because you should know how important rest time is. And if they need to walk around the mound and take a breath before they hurl their bodies at 98 miles an hour again,
What we are asking of them to do, they should be allowed to recover.
right?
Because like you said, if you watch a pitch in slow motion, it is genuinely one of the wildest things.
Yeah.
Just watching the arm, the way it
Oh,
rotates and the
yeah.
elbow, like just so much. And the control that they have over the ball, like
Hmm.
it genuinely does not make sense.
Yeah. And I think
And
right now there's a lot of, like, if you've been watching a lot of games, a lot of the pitchers have been they're just like, no, they've been requesting, like, they've been throwing out balls. They'll get a
yeah,
ball and then they're like, no. And I don't want to say this is, because I don't want to speak on behalf of players when I am not one, but some of the rumor has been that they're using it to get a few seconds of
yeah,
time before they have to do this again. It's wild. It's wild, but it's interesting watching everybody debate it. And I mean, like, obviously when you're on Twitter, it's you have to pick a side. There's no room for nuance. Like, you can't possibly think, if you're told you've either got to pick this camp or this camp. It's like, well, I can't pick
right.
either one. How about I pick one that has about 10 ingredients in it?
What is the pitch clock at currently?
Is it still 20 seconds? And I think they shrunk it down when somebody's on base. I know they changed it again this year, and I'm
Yeah, I am still a fan of the idea of what the pitch clock represents.
sure.
But even last year, I felt they were rushing it. I think you could even put it at 45 to 30 seconds, and you could think, well, that's ridiculous. But I think just having the clock there will help pick up the pace without forcing them to move quicker than they should. But again, that is not the only reason. It's players are getting smarter. They're able to track these different things. They're able to study the different pitchers. So we are asking these pitchers to add more velocity, add more speed, add more spin, and
And we're gonna take away your rest time.
we're going to take away your rest time because the hitters are getting smarter. So you have to get better. But it's like at some point, you can't improve on certain things
it didn't need to be shrunk down from last season to this. It's like
Yeah.
that's just crazy. And I know
Yes.
like a lot of people will say, well, in the minor leagues, they've been using the pitch clock for a few years now. Okay, but these minor league players, some of them eventually become major league players, and then when their bodies are worn out because of like all of these factors, yes, I mean, okay, it's like, yeah, you're right. They were able they deal with the pitch clock in the minors. That still means that as they're developing and growing and putting on muscle and they're still doing this like bodies change, and then eventually as adults they are going to wear out. It's
Yeah.
you're hitting the wall as far as peak physical fitness and performance. And
And I think that can't be denied. I mean,
sad.
it is. Yeah. And I think we don't have to like it, but I think we have to acknowledge that there is a peak of human form. Unless you guys want to get steroids legal, but yeah, that's a whole different conversation. But even then, still, like that helps with your recovery and stuff. It doesn't really change your reaction time. But yeah, we have seen athletes do incredible things. I think that is one of the reasons why you and I both love the Olympics.
Yes.
Like we talked about, players get to be like their full selves, but it also is you're seeing the best of the best of the best who have pushed human limitations. I mean, we
Right.
thought we saw the fastest swimmer. We thought we saw the fastest runner in the 80s and the
Right.
90s and the early 2000s. And then Usain Bolt, Michael Phelps, Katie Ledecky,
Right.
all of these people are pushing more and more and more. So naturally, we just start to believe there is no limit.
Right.
But when you're doing this over and over and over
And
and
there's
over and
even going to
over,
be a limit with in every sport. Like
yeah,
you're gonna find the boundaries. You're gonna find
yeah,
you're you're gonna find, as like the velociraptor tests the fence, you're gonna find that shot, that those areas of where like we just can't
yeah,
unless we just start to put robot arms inside of you. Like we just there's going to be limits to your physical fitness. And it's
yeah.
like I said, I think it's a whole myriad of things. I think it's you've got kids who are focused, the value is in speed and spin rate, and they're pitching while their bodies are still developing,
But yeah, for
and they're
sure.
pitching constantly.
So it's already started kind of breaking down, or they've already started putting that wear and tear on it way sooner.
Sure, I mean it's not unheard of college players having Tommy Johns. Or I mean, like, and you
Yeah.
that means you're already worn down by the time you're in
Yep.
college, before you might even hit the minors. So yeah, it's interesting to watch.
It is interesting, and yeah, like you said, it sucks, but I think you feel bad for the players in a sense. I know people are, oh, they don't feel bad for them, they're millionaires. Like, okay, but you feel bad for a player because their whole goal is to be the best. Their whole goal is to improve, and you reach that point. Like clearly, this Tommy John surgery, the injuries that are coming to the pitchers, the aces, is because they were
Giving everything,
striving, giving everything.
everything. Yeah.
And yeah, again, anyone that disagrees, go watch pitchers in slow motion just for like a few minutes. Just go
Well,
watch the
anybody that
videos.
disagrees, like, you'll run a 5K. Like, I don't even want to hear it.
Right.
Like, you don't. I I anybody that complains about sports and like, I mean, yeah, I complain about sport, but I mean, like, I I rarely I try to there I'd be like, I rarely complain about how a player plays, because I never think that they're not giving 100%. Now
You're
everybody's
better than
like,
me. I'll
"Oh,
be
but
honest.
didn't you
I
complain
do.
about?" But like, "Oh, didn't you complain about last year?" I did, but it wasn't. It was more about his decision to think that
Yeah.
he could keep doing it, to look Father Time in the eye and deny what was obviously happening. And I blame the organization. I there rarely do you have, I mean, it's Anthony Rendon right now, who's like, who just doesn't try, who says he
Yeah.
doesn't, like, I mean, those are rarities. Like, you're
Yasiel Puig hitting a ball and just kind of jogging to first base and then getting thrown out because he was like power walking.
yeah, Manny Machado doesn't hustle.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, you do have those players. Those are not the norm. They are going out. They're never, some are going to be better than others. That's not a knock against the ones that aren't as great, but you're also dealing with the elite of the elite. I mean, these are also the 24, 40 guys on 32 teams who are like the best of the best, sir, you know? So even there's going to be ranges there. But
Yeah.
I rarely are you going to have somebody that just doesn't try or isn't
Yeah.
trying their hardest. So it's like, yeah, anybody that like criticizes them, like, go run a 5K. Like, when's the last time you saw your feet? You know, like, I just
Right.
don't, shut up. I can't deal
Yeah.
with you. Like,
Yeah. It's yeah, it's annoying to see to yeah.
yeah, yes, it is very annoying when somebody, like, when people who look like the only way they can get their shoes on is through Velcro. It
And
just
those are the ones that complain the
the loudest.
most. The loudest, yes. Because I'll be honest with you, I do complain about players, and you're not wrong. Like, they are trying their hardest. It's just sometimes I feel like your hardest is not very good.
Because I think,
But
right, but then I think, okay, well, I remember running a five. I mean, I running 5Ks and half marathons, and it's like, you know, like, your body is like sometimes you're sick, and or
yeah,
sometimes you got allergies, or sometimes you got a phone call that, you know, like your mother's in the hospital. You know,
yeah. There are different factors that goes into everyone's performance. Us as spectators don't we're not privy to what's going on in their mind. We're not privy to what's going on behind the scenes. We want to be entertained, and if we're not entertained the way we want, some of us, myself included, will complain. Now, I will say I do have a limit. I'm not out here like trashing players
right?
for small mistakes, but when I got my receivers and we passed on Justin Jefferson for Jalen Rieger to have the ball go through his hands like 4 times, like, yeah, I'm gonna complain about that. But like, that's kind of where I will complain and I'll stop. There are people that, yeah, you'll see this guy only you're only throwing 89 miles an hour. You couldn't break 90. Like, oh, okay, you get winded going to get the mail from the mailbox. Like, come on.
Right, exactly right. Like, okay, like, I'm sure you wheeze when you take the stairs. Like,
Right.
like that. We're not gonna do this. Like, that's not it at all. Like, no, I yeah, it's like, okay, we tend to start behaving like we're in the Colosseum,
Yes.
and these are our modern day gladiators, where
Oh,
it's
I have said that, and I people try to argue with me because basically I'm like, we love organized violence. If anyone follows me on social media, I go to Ballpark Village to the biggest TV in the city to watch UFC fights whenever they have them.
like,
That
even
is a gladiator fight.
right, but like, even if you take like the violence out of it, it's like, even I consider like baseball players as like your modern day. They're just your modern day. Yeah, okay, so you're talking about the difference between slaves and millionaire paid. I get it. Don't
Yeah,
worry about it. However, they're still, you don't look at them as humans when they're on the
no,
field. You
they're
look at them
physical
as if they're
specimens that we want to entertain us.
robots, yeah, put there to entertain you. So
Yeah,
yeah, I get that they're millionaires, but you also are paying the money to go see them, which then pays their salaries. I mean, like, there's a reason that you enjoy it, and it's because you can't do it. And it's like,
exactly, exactly.
you know, like, the
Yeah,
whole reason you enjoy a sport is because you physically can't do it. So
yep,
on how much they get paid. So it's, yeah, I like when people just start, you know, like, screaming at um the inability. I'm just always like, okay, you're starting to sound a little, you know, thumbs
yeah,
down me. We're not
yeah.
gonna kill them at the end of the game. So
And I just, when it comes to the pitchers and the injuries, like, that one is a tough one. Like, if you're complaining about that, it's like I don't know. I can't get on board with that. I don't think there's an argument you can give me where you can justify being upset at the players when
No,
you see
yeah.
what's happening.
But I think we need to, I don't think it is the pitch clock, but I think if there's something that we to decrease the pitch clock, the pitch clock, to expect higher velocity, to have this perfect storm of everything, like it's just becoming too much on a player.
Yeah,
I honestly believe that. So
yeah. Oh yeah. No, I again, to shrink it even more. Like, what are we doing here?
right now, I think it's
What
18
are we
seconds.
doing?
Yeah, 18 seconds when a player is on base. It went from 20 seconds to 18 seconds when a player's on base. So it's like, okay, really, you already had
Yeah.
a shortened pitch clock last year, but
I like what the pitch clock represents, but I think it needs to be raised. And again, I would even push it up to like a good 45 seconds, which still doesn't sound like a lot. And
I
there are
think
some people that would say that like that's not fixing anything, but I think it would stop and again, those seconds matter. It would stop maybe some of the aimless wandering, but at its core, I think it just puts something in the back of their head like I can't just hang out here all day. Eventually, I've got to throw it. But to put it under 20 seconds, to me, that's
and then
ridiculous.
expect them to throw 103
Right,
miles.
exactly. If you're going to do that, you have to be okay with what's going to happen, what is happening,
Right,
because
exactly.
you are pushing them harder and harder and harder and harder and giving them less rest time. It doesn't take a genius to figure out that that's not going to work.
And yeah, and like the rest time even goes back to you're having your kids in 4 different leagues during the season. And I get it.
Yeah,
It's because you want them to become baseball players, but I just think it's you've already started the I don't there I'm forgetting about the human that's involved here and looking at them
correct.
as these physical robots that need to be just continuously pushed. And
Hmm.
I just
Yeah,
well, we've done about an hour on sports. Did you
yeah.
want to do anything fast on entertainment?
Uh,
I saw
I am excited but not happy that we get the last episode of Shogun next week.
oh, wait,
Started that late,
wait
but
a
I
minute,
caught
wait
up
this.
quickly.
Well, here's a little inside baseball. Will texted me a couple days ago. What day was it? It doesn't matter. You texted me and you were like, people are saying this is like Game of Thrones if Ned Stark wasn't stupid. And I was
Yes.
like, my brother in Christ, we are only on episode
We
like
don't know how it's
we
gonna
don't
end.
we haven't even
Yeah.
gotten to episode 8 yet.
Yes.
And I was
You're
like,
not wrong
or was we
because
had just watched episode 8. We had
yeah,
just finished
yes.
episode 8, and I said, okay, I was like, my brother in Christ, remember, Ned wasn't dumb until
Ned was doing well. I mean, yeah, he was in some sticky situations, but he was getting out of them. Everything was
and
fine.
then
The
episode
Starks
9
were winning the war.
happened.
Yeah, you're
Much
not
like
wrong.
in the
Yeah,
Spirit of Game of Thrones, Shogun
episode nine's.
took your
Yeah, so I'm excited for that. I'm wearing my X-Men shirt today. I was already rewatching the old X-Men show, and then they announced that 97 was coming out, and I think at that point I was on season 2. So I powered through the rest of them so I could go right into 97. Not gonna spoil it, but they have done an outstanding job.
I keep hearing that because
Outstanding.
I've stayed away from spoilers. I don't know how
Yes.
I've done it. I have not deep dived into them because I'm still making my way through. I think I'm on season 3 right now, which I know I'm going through them so slowly, but please, I am involved in everything in life.
Yes.
So like, yeah, I can't wait. I'm trying. Like as soon as
It is. Yeah.
we turn off this tonight, that's exactly what I'm gonna go do is go watch some more X-Men. I think I just finished think I might either be at the very tail end of 2 or beginning 3. All I know is that one of the worst that it was Mojo, and it just oh my god,
Okay, I will be honest. He does make a return in this new one,
oh no,
but
with
it's
the
not
mask.
as It's not even a full episode,
Okay,
but he is in it, and it because I kind of rolled my eyes. It was kind of like the droid episodes of the Clone Wars. Whenever I saw a droid episode, I was like, oh, here we go.
there we go.
But yeah, Storm and Beast have always been my favorite two X-Men. You know, everyone's favorite is Wolverine, but like after him, Storm and Beast have always been my favorites. And like my one knock on the old show was that Storm, anytime she used her powers, she'd like announce what she was doing, like every single time. They
Yes.
still have it, but they cut back on that a little bit in the new one. And then with Beast, it's like they had to remind you that he was super smart. Like they'll be in the middle of getting shot at by the Sentinels, and he's like over here quoting a poem. I'm like, bro, stop it. Like we get that you're a smart guy, but
What
like
I will
now it's
say is rewatching it, like it's one of those things where you just kind of forget because it's been years. I mean, like years.
years.
The Kelsey Grammer casting of him in the movies, the voice,
Yes, flawless. 10 out of 10.
spot on. Like
Yeah.
you did it like that.
Yeah.
Congrats!
I
I mean,
just,
you
yeah,
nailed it.
in this new one in 97, it's obvious that he's very smart, but they've kind of like dialed back,
The
you know,
cheese.
if
I think they've pulled back on the cheese a little bit.
yes,
I know what you're talking about with the storm stuff. Like she would
yeah,
announce it and tell you exactly what she's doing. Like, girl, we can see. We have eyes.
exactly. We can see
We
it.
know you're gonna make. We see the
We
tornado.
see
We
the
see the lightning.
lightning, we see the wind.
I don't need it to rhyme. I don't need it to
Yes.
like.
Yeah, that was like when I was watching the old ones again, because like I hadn't watched them since I was a teenager, maybe even younger than that. But I was like, oh, okay, this is annoying. And then in the new ones, every now and then she will say something, but it's like if she wants to bring a tornado, she just does it. I'm like, okay, thanks. Every now and then she'll announce it, but it's not like every single thing.
Oh, I've
And
seen.
then Beast isn't over here reciting a poem to
Yes.
like, the great philosopher would say so and so, maybe we should
While
retreat.
he's
Like,
while
bro,
he's
retreat.
throwing punches, and I'm like,
Exactly. I don't need that every time. Like I get that he's the smartest guy in the
right.
room. You
You
don't
don't
have to
have to hit
remind
us
me.
over the head with it, right?
Yeah, so
You
they've
have
cut back on that, but the stories is good. I, my biggest gripe, they nailed everyone's voice except for Rogue. I don't like what they did with Rogue's voice. Everybody else's, I was like, this is pretty. I think some of them are the same voice actors, but then they got some that are just like similar. Rogues, I was like, yeah, you
Well,
guys could have done.
I remember getting the text from you when you had restarted watching the originals
I need
because
a Southern girl in my life.
he's a big fan of how Rogue sounded in the
Yes,
90s.
I,
Yes,
I that was I'm a big fan, and it just reminded me of what they did to my girl Rogue with Anna Paquin. No hate to Anna Paquin, but
just not cast right now.
it's just not a great casting. And I mean, they took away her super strength in flight, and they basically turned her into like a forever victim. Like,
Yeah,
pretty sure every movie she was in, she was getting kidnapped or she was in danger. And then I go back and watch X-Men. I'm like, no, she should have been destroying everybody. Like,
exactly
but
right.
that's the choices they made. But I think it's really well done. I can't wait for you to watch it. I'm probably going to start it over because it's an easy watch. It's one of those things I
Okay.
can watch and then just like start over.
Oh, okay, good. That's
But I enjoyed it. I don't want to oversell it, but I think what they've done, at least they're 6 episodes in. I think maybe there's a weaker one. It's like
mm,
the Mojo episode. It's like a half episode. There's a couple weaker ones,
okay.
but even that at its worst so far.
I've heard, yeah, that's you see nothing but glowing praise about it. And like I
Yeah.
said, I've stayed, I just keep scrolling. Like I just don't,
Yep.
I'm just like, keep
Yep.
going because I'm getting to it. I'm gonna get to it. It's just right now it's getting to summertime with movies and people, I'm tired. Like,
It's funny that you mentioned the Mojo Vision because those episodes, when I watched them, I was like, that was a waste of 22 minutes.
oh, I was just like,
And then
oh,
you made it a two-parter, and I was like, do we have to?
I was like, Lord, this thing needs to go. This big booger needs to just not
Right,
be.
it's just ugly too. It just made it even worse.
Big booger does not need to be on my screen right now. Like, can we just get through these? But I'm afraid that like I'll miss something like vitally important that is like
Yeah.
mentioned in one of those episodes. I'm like, all right, I'm just gonna
Was Dazzler in the Mojo episodes back then?
not the one that I saw.
No. Okay.
Mm-mm.
So I know like I think he comes back like once or twice in the old ones.
Good.
And at one
Good.
point, Dazzler is in it, and I tweeted today about it. I was like, I think obviously there's the rumor floating around that Taylor Swift is going to be Dazzler in the Deadpool movie. I know a lot of people are going to be upset about it. To me, it makes sense with the character. Dazzler is a pop star who uses her powers to like enhance her shows. I think I tweeted from a business standpoint, duh. Like that is Taylor Swift. Like that
Even
is
if he
Taylor
just
Swift.
makes the joke that that's who she is, I mean,
Exactly. It'll
okay,
bring
yeah, good.
eyes to it. It makes sense. They might as well do it.
Right. You might as well make the joke and yeah, just shut, like just
Yeah.
shut up.
Let's
It's not
just
gonna,
have it happen.
you're not gonna,
People will be mad.
it's fine.
I think it makes sense. Honestly, if it's
They
someone
had
else now, I'll kind of be
so
annoyed.
they had so many real people in the actual comics, like comics
Yeah.
back in the in the 60s. And I mean they had presidents, they had real, like shut up.
Yeah.
Of
Yeah.
course
People are
they're
just
gonna
looking for
use
something
real
to be
people the
mad about.
same way they did in the comics years, like the
Yep.
actual written comics. Just that you'll be fine. You'll get
Yep.
through it. Like good lord.
Yeah.
But I did see Abigail last night. That was okay.
Yes, I meant to ask you this morning, how was that? How did you sleep after?
It was, oh, the thing is, it was okay. It wasn't as scary as I guess it was anticipating it to be. I
This
don't.
one, the plot, they kidnap a girl, but the girl is actually like an alien or
She's a
something.
vampire.
Vampire. Okay.
Yes, she's a vampire ballerina. Yes.
Vampire
And you
ballerina.
pretty much,
Right.
that's, if you see the trailer, you've seen the movie. Like I don't.
It's one of those.
Yeah, like it is what it is. I think it
Yeah.
is funny. I mean, they think the cast works well together. I think you can put Dan Stevens, who is also in Godzilla times Kong.
Haven't
Um,
seen that one yet.
I think like him and Brian Tyree Henry and get they perfect pairing. Like I could watch those two, whatever you want to put them in. You just I think you can put Brian Tyree Henry. I can think you can pair him with just about anybody, and he's compelling.
Yeah, because I mean him
Aaron
and Bullet,
Aaron
yeah,
Johnson.
outstanding. I wanted a spin-off of just them two.
Oh, yeah.
Like I thought the movie was good, but like I want more of them. They needed more screen time.
Right. So I think you can put him with anybody and he works well. I think Dan Stevens is kind of the same way. I think right now he's having a lot of fun in his career. I think he's
Yeah.
doing like some goofy shit and he's really enjoying it and good for him. So I mean
Yeah.
it was okay. I hate jump scare movies, so I was like sitting, I had my, you could ask Tony, I was like sitting
Yeah.
like this the entire time and I was like, listen, but there wasn't as many as that. I mean there's a couple, but not anywhere is what I thought.
Well, that's good because the jump scares to me are like a cheap trick to me. Like I don't do horror movies, but if
Right.
you're relying on jump scares, I don't love it.
Exactly right. And so I know here in St. Louis, we are not screening Furiosa, which I'm super bummed about.
That's unfortunate.
It is unfortunate. We did not screen Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare. I believe I'm seeing that tomorrow though at Alamo. I'll see that.
That looks good,
It does. It's a Guy
honestly.
Ritchie film, so I'm interested in seeing how that
Yes.
worked out. I'm gonna pass probably unless nothing comes out next week that I need to see. That's Sasquatch Sunset.
I don't even think I've seen that one. I
Oh
don't know what that
my
is.
God, please, after this is over, please pull up the trailer because I don't want to describe what you're first gonna see.
Wait. Is this the one with Jesse Eisenberg?
Yes,
Okay, I have seen that trailer then.
yes, yes,
And I
yes,
was creeped out by the 2 minute trailer or whatever it was.
yes.
Yeah, yeah,
So
not a
I might see that next week. I mean, like I've already seen Challengers. Challengers comes out. You're gonna be that. You know how we said that Timothy Shamalama Ding Dong became a man. And I'm not doing that as a disrespectful way. I just like
no.
to.
That's just
He became a man. I'm a man
yeah. He
in
became
New
a
York
man
City.
in the sequel.
Um, didn't get that vibe from Zendaya as far as like, but I haven't really gotten that vibe as far as like, I know she's an adult,
Yeah,
but I haven't really gotten that adult vibe from her yet. This movie, Challengers. Mm,
Tom Holland on each shoulder.
mm,
Yeah.
yeah, it's
Well, yeah.
it took away that
I've
you have
been
not seen it
curious
before.
about it.
It's a good
I've been
movie.
One thing I did do movie wise, told you about it. I got the tickets to the nine
Oh,
movie marathon for
oh,
all three Star Wars. Star Wars is
oh, in May.
all the Star Wars. It's in May. I don't know if I'm going. I bought the tickets just as like a placeholder. I'm like mentally trying to see if I still got that in me. I think it'd be a cool thing to do. I think it would be cool for the content that I could get from it.
Absolutely
But to start, actually, I don't even know what order they're going in. Probably chronological.
right.
But I
Well,
don't know if I've
yeah,
gotten nine movies in me. I don't think they're doing Rogue One or Solo.
right.
I
It's the
think
nine.
it's the nine, and I want to do it, but just thinking about it, I get tired. I
Well,
will fall asleep. I know I'm going to.
you would pick
I'm
which movie you'd want to fall asleep in.
exactly. I've
Sure.
already started planning, like, okay, and I can start falling asleep during these. I'll fall asleep during like the first half of episode two because Anakin and Padme, I don't need to see that. But like once the Clone Wars starts, once they get to Geonosis, I'll wake up.
Right.
I watch all of Revenge of the Sith and kind of just go through that way. Maybe sleep through parts of A New Hope, stay up for
Empire.
Empire. Just go that way. But we'll see. I have the ticket. I have the ticket.
Well, you could go. You don't have to. You don't have to stay for all of them.
It's true. And I've thought about that, but I'd feel bad as I'm like driving
No,
home. Like, ah, couldn't do it. But also, that's just such a long
it
time.
is a very long time.
Ugh.
But have not spent that amount of time at a movie theater. The closest I've come is screening Napoleon and Hunger Games, Songbirds and Snakes in the same day, where it was at the theater at 1 o'clock for Napoleon and Hunger Games was at 7.
See, we did Barbenheimer. That was a double movie day. I know years ago, Warenberg did like a national movie day, and you could see movies for like $1 or something. So I saw whatever Sandra Bullock's space movie was, that one where she like gets knocked
Gravity?
off this grab was it called
Gravity?
Gravity?
Was it
Yeah,
Gravity?
it was Gravity. And there was
I'm gonna get all the Nolan boys mad at me, but I always get Gravity and Interstellar mixed up.
yeah, no, it was Gravity, but there was two other movies I saw that day. I don't remember them, but I remember Gravity. I saw three movies, and I remember leaving the third movie and being like, I have to go home.
Right. Yeah. I
So
mean, it's you're gonna have to decide. I think
yeah,
you should still do it and see how many you can get through.
I think so. I think I'm going to go and just be fine if I have to end up walking out at some
Right.
point, but I think I'm going to do it and just see how far I get. I'll be curious to see what type of people show up. And then if they start booing as soon as the final three start, like, all right, guys, I think I love them? No, but there are certain things I liked about
Right.
each of them. But
And you know that they're doing intentionally crude popcorn cans for Deadpool, right?
yes, I did see that. I've already talked to my friend DJ about it. I
Now
think
the ones that are floating around are not they're
are
not
fake. That's
yeah,
just a
the Boss
rendering.
Logic ones, right? Yeah.
Yes, I am prepared. Like the day they come out,
You gotta
I
be
will be in AMC theater. Not even to see a movie. Like as soon as they go to unlock the door, I'm just gonna walk in. Like you know why I'm here.
I wonder if they'll ask people for their tickets.
I don't always. I've walked in
I'm
because I
talking
went
about
at the
for
Miles
those.
Morales one that came out when that came out. Ended up not getting it. It was a big Spider-Man had one. But
But
for this,
I'm wondering if they do. Because of the stuff with Dune, I'm wondering if they will make people like show a ticket.
it's fine. I'll buy a ticket. I don't care. I'll buy a ticket.
I
Or I'll
really
just
still
wear
think
like
you should see Civil War though at the theater.
I do plan. I almost saw it yesterday, but the moment I decided that I was willing to get up and go see it, I would have like the last showing, I would have gotten there too late. But think I don't think I have anything going on tomorrow. I might go tomorrow. I really want to see it, and your review has given me hope because like that was the one thing holding me up. I was like, I didn't want to walk in there and then
It'd be
feel
political
like it was
propaganda
one
either
way
way.
or the other, and then I'm just annoyed.
It's and the thing is, I know there's a lot of people that just want it to be because they either want to again rage farm. They want to be like, look at how they see us, and then
Yeah,
or another side is going to be like, you're right, we're right about this. This is how we
yeah.
see. It's not about that. It literally. I mean, more. Some people aren't even going to like the fact that I say this. It really is an anti-war film. It is because it's so intense. Because it's so uncomfortable. It's you don't know why the country went to war and you don't need to know why. You just need to know that they're everybody that they come across like nobody's a good guy. Like nobody is you everybody is so morally ambiguous because you don't know. It's everybody is just it's about
I love that.
it's about four war journalists that are traveling from I want to say it's like right outside. I think they're in Pennsylvania when they start. I could be wrong, but they're trying to make their way to DC instead of just being able to go down. They have to go because they have to avoid going because of everything that's going on. They have to make a trip through like West Virginia and like circle around and come through. It's like basically a road trip for them, traveling and just the stuff that they're coming across during this time with the country being at war. It's just, yeah, I see it on the biggest screen you can, because I've, I don't remember the last time I sat in a movie and I was I was like, my hand, I was white knuckling, it was so and like when a shot would happen, like I would yeah, it was that like if I had to rank so far the movies out, obviously it would be Dune, but I think that one's like it's right underneath, like it's one of that, and then I would say the one underneath it actually kind of might be the First Omen. Strangely enough,
Really
it was surprisingly good. I did not
interesting.
expect that level of horror homage to the original 76 Omen
Yeah.
from Disney. I'll be honest.
Oh, did Disney make that one?
Well, it's 21st century, it's 20th Century Fox.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
And so
Interesting.
that's Disney now. I was not expecting as the kids would say, I did not expect them to bring that kind of heat. Um and because I saw it and I thought, oh boy, okay, here we're gonna see, your Disney's version of the Omen. This ought to be good, and it's really tough because anytime you touch those legacy films, um, or you do a legacy film, which you're
It's a losing game 99% of the time.
exactly right. They do a great job of tying it into. I think you could sit down, you could watch this one, immediately turn on 1976 Omen, and be. It's got, yeah.
That's awesome. It's all kind of like Top Gun,
Mhm.
which we've talked about. One like outstanding film. I'm glad it did what it did at the box office. That was a movie that years later still did a great job of being its own story while paying homage to the first one
Right.
so well. Like it didn't overdo it. It introduced the characters, but allowed the new characters to have their own story. The only thing DJ always gets on my case about it. The only thing is very small, but that photo of Tom Cruise and Val Kilmer, I felt like they kept showing it
Right.
like just maybe like one too many times. And I get like it had something to do with the movie to show their friendship,
Right.
but then it also poor Kilmer is kind of like, oh, this is our guy. But it's like when he was on the phone with him, they
Right.
showed the picture on the wall.
Yeah, it's
And
anytime they
then
beat you over the head with something, you're just like,
yeah,
you
then
know
he
what,
went
I'm
to his
not that
house.
stupid.
You saw it when he walked in. You saw the photo when he walked out.
Right,
And then when they called and said he died, they showed the photo again. I was like, oh, okay, we get it. Other than that, flawless
right.
movie.
Well, that's in any time, like you're gonna there's always gonna be like, okay, like that's
Yeah,
we didn't need to do that. But yeah, no,
yeah.
I thought like so far those have been
That is a surprising
I don't
second.
like
Obviously, I knew Dune was, but
and I
that's a
don't
surprising
yeah,
second.
I don't tend to like graphic films, especially horror films. It is graphic. There is definitely a scene in it that in all fairness, one of the guys asked me, "Well, have you ever seen Knocked Up?" I have never seen Knocked Up with Seth Rogen, so don't ask me. No, I haven't seen it. Apparently, there's a birthing scene in it that's pretty graphic. I have not seen it, so I couldn't tell you. So I only know that this movie,
Yeah.
watching this, I have been in the room while someone was giving birth and not felt like I was that up close as what I was in this movie. So I just take that for what it is. It's
Well, it's like you said, you don't like the graphic movies, but this one was good. It's like when I saw Ready or Not, and obviously that's not like a top tier movie, but I remember walking into that movie
right.
thinking it's going to be blood and guts for an hour and a half. And okay, I walked out of that movie like that was a good movie.
Right. Yeah. The
Yes, there
story
was
and
a lot of
everything.
blood and guts, but that was a
Right.
good movie.
Yeah. The story was one where you're like, I understand, and you understood the purpose of the blood and guts.
Yes, it
It didn't
wasn't
feel
there
like you
just
were
to
just
have it.
like throwing it in there just to be gratuitous. It's like, okay, I understand this violence serves its purpose. And I feel like the
Like a
same
Wednesday
way.
Adams cutting off the arm and the blood just spraying out. It's like, okay, what was the point? I mean, I get why they did it, but like
Right.
sometimes when I watch some of these graphic movies, it's like, was that necessary?
No, it's like half of the time it isn't necessary. It's just to
Yeah,
get you to be sick. And it's like, ugh,
yeah,
you get this.
yeah.
Yeah. So I would say definitely see Civil War. I mean, I don't say like unless you have one of your a season pass or the $5 something like that. I think the first Omen, if it's still out in theaters, go see it. It's not as bad as what you know. I know that I think Immaculate with Sydney Sweeney is already hitting like streaming right now. So I mean that one's good. It's not. I think the first Omen is a better version of it's. They're both non exploitation movies. Very much in that 70s theme of
Yeah.
we're doing that, but I just think the first woman does it a little bit better than what Immaculate's good though. I think people who say she can't act are just jealous. I don't think she's like I think she's obviously very well built, but it doesn't make her a bad actress. Like
Right.
she's kind of new into this. Let her be, let her grow into like
Yeah.
calm down people. Like I'm sure she'll get there. She keeps getting the roles kind of thing.
I
So
actually had no idea that her what was it called? The one movie you just said?
Immaculate.
Immaculate. I had no idea that was coming out. I like I saw she was hosting SNL a while back and I thought it was for her romance movie and then I thought it couldn't be for Madam Web.
Right.
And then someone mentioned that. I was like, what is that? And then I was
Yeah,
like,
that's
oh, I had no idea it was coming out.
yeah, it was a huge passion. I know it was a huge passion project of hers. She was very, very, very into, like she worked really, like it was one of what she really wanted. It was her and this director really wanted to make sure that this movie was made. Again, good movie. I just think the first Omen was again, in Immaculate is it's pretty grotesque too. But again, it's that kind of movie. Now, I will
Yeah.
say the first Omen, I was in the theater by myself. It was not fun.
Yeah, that I don't know if I could have done that. That's
That was
like
it's
you said, the blanket would have been like
oh,
up
I have
here, one
like this.
eye. Just
I just sit there and I'm like, I was kind of so glad that nobody else can see me in this. But yeah, I mean, there's a few of them that I am either the only one in the theater seeing it or one of maybe three people. It's
because you see them pretty early in the day.
yeah, I'll see it. I see them at like noon. Well, the ones that we don't get screenings for that I just use my season pass for Alamo
Yeah.
to see. Um, Have you seen Zone of Interest? It's on HBO.
I have not. There's a lot of stuff on my list, but like I said, I needed to catch up on Shogun. I needed to catch up on some stuff that me and Sarah
You're
watched
gonna have like
together.
this brief period of time before you gotta jump into House of Dragon.
I know, but then I had been, like I said, I was kind of just like
Because are you
slow.
gonna rewatch House of Dragon? Because you know they're gonna play it.
Yeah, yeah. Oh yeah. I'm
Exactly.
gonna. I have to honestly probably start that like tomorrow.
Ooh, and I have heard what the first episode I believe is spoke.
They did announce the title already.
There's
Isn't
one.
the Sun for a Sun or something?
Are they doing it on Father's Day?
Let's find
Because
out. That would be wild.
if it is, and they are doing the episode I think they're supposed to be doing, people are gonna be like, "Come on."
June 16th.
Yeah,
And oh, wait a minute. It is. That
yeah.
could
It's
be unfortunate. I'm not for, I mean, not for the fans. That's the XFL championship game.
I will just say if people have read the books,
I was gonna say this is from the book.
yeah, if people have read the books and I say the names Blood and Cheese, they will understand what is possibly coming in this episode. And if they thought that a dragon eating a poor little baby child was something, baby, you have no idea. This story is going to be just, but I mean, like buckle up, like hold on to your butts, kind of thing. And I love the fact that Game of Thrones is doing this particular episode on Father's Day.
Good for them. Good for the marketing team.
Because I didn't they do Mother's Mercy or Mother's on Mother's Day?
Yes.
Yeah. So I mean, in the vein of them keeping it the same way that's they are going. The episode is,
And they've got to start it off with a bang just because
it's
it kicks off the season. And now that I can be a part of it, social media.
oh
It's
yes,
gotta
you get to do social media
I'm
with it.
I'm I'm I'm
Oh,
here. I'm ready. I am ready. Like I was tweeting about Shogun the day because I watched it the day it came out and I was like on Twitter like talking about it. It was like the same way when I was tweeting about Last of Us and while I was tweeting about Shogun, I remember thinking I cannot wait until House of the Dragon comes back because I can be a part of it. Obviously, it won't be the exact same as Game of Thrones,
it's close because
but I
I
am
will tell
ready
you
to
that last episode of House of Dragon, when the boys are up there and they've got their dragons and they're fighting, the the treasures, the gold that came from some of those tweets. It,
I remember seeing some of them and not having the context for it and being annoyed that I saw them because I knew that I was going to be watching it later, but it was just so good seeing them and the parodies from because like the way people use memes
yes,
from current shows in like sports. I got like the thing I sent you today,
yes,
uh summing up the trade with using the translator.
yes.
Like just I can't
It's
wait. I
you
can't
can't
wait.
wait. So it's like, again, you have to start planning all this out because you know you're going to be rewatching. You're going to be rewatching and plan for this. So you've got, I mean, like,
Yeah.
it's like I got to try to fit in X-Men and I'm going to try to fit in Fallout.
Yes, I am a big gamer. I played half of one Fallout game years ago, never got into it, but my gamer friends said that it is one of the best video game adaptations, and people that didn't play it said they loved it.
Right,
So me, having played one of the games, but also knowing I know the story,
right.
I am excited to watch that one. And I literally was like, do I have time to fit this in before House of the Dragon? I finished all of the old X-Men. Shogun's only got one episode left. X-Men is just one episode at a time. Bad Batch is almost over. Like,
I
I
know.
think I think I can get Fallout in there.
Like, how can anybody be mad about anything right now? Like, we are so
Right.
spoiled as far as like entertainment and like
Yes.
like just everybody just
And even
shush.
if we disagree on all kinds of stuff, it's like at some point we could like sit there and be like,
Sports
so
are on.
Naruto, right? Right?
Sports are on. Like TV shows are on. Like
Yes.
just like everybody come together
Yes.
and gather on Twitter to tweet about Game of Thrones, like or House of
Yes.
Dragon. Like this is what we all come together for. Like this
I
is
will help you make your engagement money if you're tweeting about X-Men or Shogun. Like if I see a blue check mark and you're tweeting about that,
right,
I will lean in fully.
right,
I will get you all the money.
perfect. And I think there's a perfect way to end it because it brings us
Yes.
full circle from engagement to engagement. But yeah, we definitely need to like, yeah, we're actually gonna start doing this weekly. That's why we,
Yes.
yeah, that we don't get
There was just way too much that happens in between for us to fit it all into one episode.
yeah. So we
We were gonna
figure
do
if
it.
the episodes get shorter because we're doing weekly, fine,
That's
whatever.
fine.
It's everything's out there weekly. So all right, and where can everybody find you?
They can find me at Will with one L underscore the underscore beast. And I think that is across all of my platforms.
Nice.
So it makes it easy.
Nice. And you can find me at holy underscore LELLE. And yeah, I mean, you can find me other places. I mean, at this point, if you haven't found me, I don't know what to do. I can't help you out anymore.
Yeah.
All right. I'm going to try to not end this. Oh,
Yes.
I'm going to try to hit stop. All right. I'm going to say bye. Bye to everybody. Bye.
See